Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Mm.
This time we're going behind the curtain of impactful music events. We're
Ooh.
talking Grammys, festivals, even intimate club gigs, what makes them tick.
All right.
So I have to say, you sent over some really interesting stuff this time.
Yeah.
We've got a Grammys recap, some interviews with some producers and Kendrick Lamar,
Mm-hmm.
a deep dive into social media trends,
Interesting.
and get this, even a lecture on storytelling from Brandon Sanderson, the fantasy author.
Wow, that's quite the mix.
It is, right? But trust me, it's all going to connect in some really fascinating ways.
Well, I'm intrigued already.
Okay, so let's start with those Grammys.
All right.
The Needle Drop, a.k.a. Anthony Fantano, has some pretty hot takes this year.
Oh yeah, he always does.
Like Brat winning Best Recording Package for an album literally called Brat.
Brat, huh? I'm guessing that's not on your regular rotation.
You know me too well.
Okay.
But here's the thing. It got me thinking about the visual experience, especially in this world of streaming and digital music.
Oh yeah, like the modern equivalent of those old vinyl album covers we used to pore over.
Exactly. Packaging isn't just about looks anymore. It's about creating a tangible connection to the music, a whole experience.
It's that immersive element, right? Going beyond just the sound itself.
You got it. And speaking of the Needle Drop, he wasn't exactly thrilled about Best Engineered Album going to Peter Gabriel.
What were his thoughts there?
He thought the nominees were a bit weak this year, felt like Beyoncé or Charlie Bit have snagged it.
Interesting. So it raises the question of what even defines best in engineering.
Right. Is it technical prowess, artistic vision, or something else entirely?
Yeah, it's subjective, isn't it? And it speaks to the bigger challenge of judging art, especially music.
Absolutely. So awards are fun to debate, but let's get to the heart of it.
All right.
What's the magic behind these music events? What makes them stick with us?
The million-dollar question, right?
I think Trevor Noah's talk with the Grammy producers had some clues.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
They kept mentioning vibes, creating an authentic experience that feels organic, not overly scripted.
Yeah, and that's way harder than it sounds, especially today.
Right. They even talked about the audience of one, how everyone's in their own little media bubble.
So how do you create a shared experience that actually resonates when everyone's so fragmented?
Exactly. It's like throwing a party where everyone has totally different musical tastes.
I've been there, haha.
And on top of that, there's this pressure to constantly innovate, keep things fresh.
Oh, yeah, the producers were pretty open about how that's tied to, keeping people employed.
It's a fascinating balance, right? Artistic vision meets economic reality.
Definitely. And you know what else struck me? They really emphasize the importance of cross-pollination, bringing diverse voices together.
Yeah, I love that part. It's not just about showcasing diverse talent, but also about fostering inclusivity behind the scenes.
In the production, the writing, the whole shebang.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture of inclusivity from the ground up.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, are you ready for a bit of a left turn here?
All right, I'm game.
Because I think we can learn a lot about impactful events from a fantasy author.
A fantasy author. Now you've got me really curious.
Yeah, so Brendan Sanderson, he gave this amazing lecture on storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And his insights are surprisingly relevant to what we're talking about here.
Okay, I'm all ears.
He talks about this thing called the trifail cycle. Basically, events, just like stories, need moments of tension and release.
Ah, so you can't have constant highs without the lows to make them meaningful.
Precisely. It's like a festival that's just one giant party would get old fast. You need those moments of reflection and anticipation to really appreciate the peaks.
Like a roller coaster ride, you need those dips and turns to make the climb to the top all the more thrilling.
You got it. And Sanderson also talks about the importance of points on the map.
What does he mean by that?
Even when you're improvising, even when things feel spontaneous, there needs to be a sense of progression, of moving towards a satisfying conclusion.
Otherwise, the event can feel aimless or disjointed, and the audience might feel lost.
Exactly. Even at a free-flowing jam session, there's an underlying structure, an unspoken agreement about where the music is going. It's not just random noise.
That makes sense. So it's about striking that balance between structure and spontaneity.
Right, and here's a hilarious warning from Sanderson. Don't cling too rigidly to formulas.
Oh.
He actually uses the virgin birth trope in Star Wars as a cautionary tale.
Haha, that's brilliant.
It's like he's saying, don't be afraid to break the rules, subvert expectations.
So don't be afraid to get a little weird.
Exactly. Now I'm thinking about Kendrick Lamar's approach to his music and performances.
Speaking of rule breakers.
Right. You have that interview where he talks about the business side of things.
Yeah, that one was gold.
He's all about mentorship, learning from those who came before you.
Passing down the torch.
But he also gets real about the challenges of running a creative venture, even when you're a global superstar like him.
It's not all glitz and glam.
His team at PG Lang isn't just about the art. It's about the hustle, the business smarts, the network you build.
It's a reminder that even the most talented people need a strong support system.
Absolutely. And think about this. He had to condense his whole artistic vision into a 13-minute Super Bowl halftime show.
Whoa, talk about pressure.
That's a masterclass in creative constraint, right? It forces you to prioritize what's essential and let go of the rest.
What message do you want to convey in such a limited time?
Yeah, what elements are truly impactful? These are questions every creator faces no matter the stage.
For sure, whether you're performing for millions or a handful of people.
Okay, so we've got this amazing event planned. But how do you actually get people excited about it in today's social media frenzy? You sent me a video on that?
Oh, yeah, that one was a doozy.
The landscape is changing so
It's
fast.
a whirlwind out there.
Like, remember when we just blasted our message to everyone? Now it's all about micro-community.
Finding your tribe, connecting on a deeper level.
It's like tailoring a playlist for a specific friend. You know what they'll vibe with.
And that video talked about multi-layered hooks to grab attention in our short attention span world.
Those were amazing. Combining visuals, text, and sound to create a mini symphony for the senses.
It's about cutting through the noise with a multi-sensory experience.
Totally. And remember how crucial authenticity is.
Can't fake it till you make it anymore.
You have to stay true to your brand, your unique voice. People can spot a phony a mile away.
Authenticity is about building trust and credibility with your audience.
Okay, last point from the video that blew my mind, long-form content, is making a comeback.
What? I thought short videos were taking over the world.
It seems people still crave those deeper dive, those nuanced explorations.
We need that balance, right? Quick hits of info and moments to really immerse ourselves.
Exactly, which is what we're going for with these deep dives, right?
Giving you a rich and layered understanding of these topics.
Speaking of deep dives, remember that fantasy author we mentioned?
Brandon Sanderson, yeah, bring him back.
He had some seriously insightful points about storytelling that apply directly to what we're talking about.
Oh, remind me, what were some of the key takeaways? How does fantasy literature relate to creating these impactful music events?
He talked about how events, just like stories, need those moments of tension and release. You can't have constant highs without the lows to make them meaningful.
Oh, so like a roller coaster, you need those dips and turns to make the climb to the top all the more exciting.
Exactly. And he also talked about avoiding what he calls gorillas in the phone booth.
Gorillas in the phone booth? What's that?
It means like addressing those obvious questions or inconsistencies that might distract the audience from the story.
So anticipating those potential distractions and maybe even integrating them into the narrative.
Yeah, or addressing them head on so they don't derail the whole experience.
It's like if there's a technical glitch at a concert, you don't just ignore it.
You acknowledge it, maybe make a joke about it, and then keep the show going.
It's all about maintaining that connection with the audience being authentic, even when things go wrong.
And remember how Sanderson emphasized having those points on the map, even when you're improvising.
Yeah, needing some structure to guide the experience.
You need some sense of direction, otherwise it can feel like wandering aimlessly.
Like you might stumble upon some cool things, but you're not going to reach a satisfying destination.
Exactly. Even at a free-flowing jam session, there's an underlying structure, an unspoken agreement about where the music is going. It's not just random noise.
Right, it's like a musical conversation.
And remember, his warning about clinging too rigidly to formulas, he used the virgin birth trope in Star Wars as an example.
Haha, I love that he used Star Wars.
It's a reminder to break the rules, sometimes subvert expectations.
The most memorable moments can come from those unexpected detours.
Now let's dive back into that social media landscape. I feel like that trend cycle is spinning faster than ever.
It's a challenge to keep up, but the key is to focus on the fundamentals, you know?
Back to basics.
That video you shared had some great advice from Ryan Weber. He's the guy who posted like 10,000 social media videos.
10,000. That's insane. What did he say?
Consistency. It's like building a music career. You can't just release one song and expect to be a superstar.
Gotta keep at it.
You need to consistently share your work, build that momentum.
You compare it to a billboard, right?
Yeah, if you drive past the same billboard every day, you're going to remember it even subconsciously.
Makes sense. Just keep showing up, keep sharing your message, and people will start to notice.
And don't be afraid to experiment, try new things. The social media landscape is constantly changing. You got to adapt.
Be like water.
Exactly. And he also talked about focusing on improving just one aspect of your video at a time.
So like one week you focus on audio quality, the next week you work on lighting.
Small, incremental improvements over time lead to big results.
It's the little things.
And he had some interesting thoughts on using AI for creative purposes.
Oh yeah, like generating visuals or audio tracks.
It's about embracing technology to enhance our creativity.
The possibilities are endless. Speaking of possibilities, let's talk about social commerce.
Oh yeah, that's becoming huge for music events.
You can sell tickets, merch, even VIP experiences all through social media.
TikTok Shop is really taking off.
It's like having a virtual merch table accessible worldwide.
And remember those minimal click strategies they were talking about?
Making it super easy for people to buy from you.
Removing those barriers to entry.
You know, all this talk about social media and trends makes me think about the bigger picture. How is technology shaping the way we experience music and events?
That's a great question, and it's a constantly evolving landscape. We're seeing a lot of experimentation with virtual reality, augmented reality, immersive technologies.
So concerts could become these multisensory experiences that blur the lines between physical and digital.
Imagine attending a virtual music festival from your couch.
Or experiencing a live performance in augmented reality.
Whoa, that's mind-blowing.
The possibilities are pretty wild. But with all this talk about innovation and technology, I also wonder, how do we preserve the soul of music?
That raw emotional connection.
Exactly. Technology can enhance the experience, but It can't replace that human element.
Remember that video we watched about why modern movies are hopeless?
Yeah, by Spencer Sakurai, right?
He made some interesting points about how all the action and spectacle can sometimes overshadow the emotional core of the story.
Like we're so bombarded with stimuli that we forget to actually feel something.
He was arguing for a return to the fundamentals of storytelling, strong characters, compelling narratives, moments of genuine human connection.
And those principles apply to music events, too. It's not just about throwing flashy lights and special effects at the audience.
It's about creating an experience that moves them, that makes them feel something that stays with them.
It's about striking that balance between innovation and tradition, spectacle, and substance.
Finding the heart of it all.
Okay, one last thought from that video that really stuck with me. Sakurai said that instead of focusing on whether a movie stops or never stops, we should be asking ourselves, am I engaged? Is this making me think? Am I invested in these characters?
Powerful stuff.
It's a reminder that the real measure of success is the internal experience of the audience.
How did it make you feel?
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you have the biggest stage or the most elaborate production if the audience isn't feeling it.
It's got to resonate on an emotional level.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into impactful music events, I'm curious, what are some of your key takeaways? What's resonating with you the most?
It's funny you ask that because I think what's really sticking with me is how interconnected everything is.
What do you mean?
Like from the Grammy stage to a fantasy author's lecture, we see these common threads. Authenticity, storytelling, creating a shared experience that really resonates, it's all connected.
So you're saying whether you're crafting a 3-minute song or a 3-hour festival, the same principles apply?
Yeah, exactly. And it all starts with that initial spark, that aha moment where the idea takes hold.
Okay, so you've got this brilliant idea for a music event. What's next? How do you make it real?
That's where the real work begins, right? Assembling the right team, nurturing that creative spark, navigating the challenges along the way.
It's like building a house. You need the right blueprint, the right materials, and a skilled crew to bring it all together.
And you need a strong foundation.
Exactly. A solid vision that guides the whole process.
And don't forget about flexibility, Things change, plans evolve. You got to be able to adapt.
Like a jazz musician improvising a solo.
Right. You got to be able to flow with the energy and make adjustments on the fly.
So we've talked about ideation, realization, authenticity, storytelling, creating a shared experience. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I'd say never lose sight of that passion that drives you.
That fire in your belly.
Exactly. Whether you're producing a global music festival or organizing an open mic night, let that passion shine through.
People can feel it when you're genuinely excited about something. It's contagious.
And don't be afraid to take risks. Experiment, push the boundaries a bit. It's how we grow.
The music world needs those who dare to be different.
Absolutely.
So there you have it, folks. From the Grammys to intimate club gigs, we've explored what makes music events truly impactful. Remember, it's about the stories we tell, the connections we make, and the experiences we share. Now go out there and create something amazing, and don't forget to invite us.